The Caribbean has long been a hotspot for U.S.-Venezuela tensions, with U.S. Navy patrols facing aggressive Venezuelan vessels over oil and migration routes. U.S. interceptions often spark disputes, while Venezuela asserts sovereignty with bold naval maneuvers. In 2025, a Venezuelan attack on a $248 million U.S. tanker escalated into a ferocious confrontation, reshaping regional dynamics and gripping the world in fear. Below is the account of this clash, from a high-seas assault to an outcome that left everyone reeling. On a stormy dawn in 2025, the USNS Yukon, a $248 million U.S. tanker, glided through the Caribbean near Venezuelan waters, its radar scanning for threats. A Venezuelan naval frigate, loaded with anti-ship missiles, approached aggressively, broadcasting demands for the Yukon to withdraw. The Yukon held position, spotlights piercing the rain. The air crackled with tension as Venezuelan sailors aimed weapons. Suddenly, the frigate fired a missile, the warhead screaming into the Yukon's hull, unleashing a massive explosion that rocked the deck and sent a towering water column skyward. Alarms wailed, black smoke billowed, turning the Caribbean into a powder keg ready to erupt with devastating force. The attack ignited a fierce U.S. response. FA-18 jets from a nearby U.S. carrier roared in, engaging Venezuelan fighters in a whirlwind dogfight over the Caribbean sky. Missiles streaked across the horizon, a Venezuelan jet exploding in a radiant fireball that lit the skyline. The Yukon fired cruise missiles, ripping through the frigate's deck in a blazing inferno. Venezuela countered with anti-ship missiles, one striking a U.S. escort ship, sending water and metal soaring. Smoke and flames consumed the sea, relentless blasts churning the waves, transforming the Caribbean into a chaotic war zone where every swell carried death. The conflict surged into space with terrifying speed. Venezuela used jamming satellites to disrupt U.S. aircraft control systems. The U.S. retaliated with anti-satellite weapons, obliterating a Venezuelan satellite, scattering orbital debris like a meteor shower. In the skies, combat drones from both sides clashed, bursting into fireballs that illuminated the night. Venezuelan hypersonic missiles targeted U.S. ships, but American laser defenses incinerated them in blinding flashes. The war expanded as allies joined, turning the Caribbean into a multinational flashpoint where missiles and black smoke choked everything. Venezuela, backed by allied nations, launched ballistic missiles from land, targeting U.S. bases in Puerto Rico and Florida. The U.S. struck back with a lightning assault, using B-21 stealth bombers to destroy Venezuelan airfields near Caracas. Fires and smoke rose from flattened bases, sowing panic across the region. Other Caribbean nations were drawn to the brink, with Cuba and Nicaragua bolstering borders. The global economy reeled as oil prices skyrocketed. Gulf of Mexico shipping halted. Satellite imagery revealed massive fires and black smoke blanketing the region, marking an unprecedented phase of savage warfare in the Caribbean. The conflict's fallout triggered a regional refugee crisis. Destroyed infrastructure forced millions of Venezuelans to flee, flooding borders into Colombia and Brazil for safety. Refugee camps overflowed, diseases spreading in the chaos as international aid struggled to keep up. The U.S. and affected nations organized emergency relief, but insurgent groups seized lawless zones. Autonomous robots cleared contaminated areas, while international task forces hunted insurgents. The U.S. and Venezuela, facing humanitarian disaster, were forced into a temporary ceasefire, but new rebel factions emerged from the turmoil. The crisis paused the war, but swelling refugee flows and persistent disease threats signaled an unstable future. The Ukraine-Russia war has seen bold tactics, with energy pipelines becoming strategic targets. Russia often employs covert operations to sabotage Ukraine's infrastructure, while Ukraine counters with surprise strikes. In 2025, a Russian secret mission to destroy a key Ukrainian gas pipeline backfired, triggering a ferocious confrontation that shook the region. Below is the account of this event, from a covert plot to an outcome that stunned the world. On a frigid night in 2025, near the Luhansk border, Russian special forces infiltrated Ukraine to sabotage a critical gas pipeline supplying Europe. The team, equipped with stealth gear and nano-explosives, dug tunnels to plant charges. Ukraine, having uncovered the plot through cyber intelligence, waited for the perfect moment. As the Russians activated their devices, Ukraine triggered a remote-controlled 1,500-kilogram thermobaric bomb buried nearby. The explosion tore through the earth, flames erupting like a volcano, engulfing the team and destroying a decoy pipeline Ukraine had set up as a trap. Alarms blared across Russia, rescue teams scrambled, but the devastation was immense. The battlefield became a fiery abyss, setting the stage for a brutal energy war. Russia retaliated instantly, launching Iskander missiles from bases near the border, pounding Ukrainian energy facilities in Sumy with devastating force. Russian Su-34 jets roared in, dropping bombs on power plants, rocking the city. Ukraine countered with lightning drone strikes on Russian oil depots in Kursk, igniting massive fires. A ferocious air battle erupted, with Ukrainian suicide drones clashing with Russian jets in dazzling explosions. Black smoke choked the sky, relentless blasts shaking the ground, transforming the border into a chaotic war zone where every second pulsed with danger. The conflict escalated into an energy war with terrifying speed. Russia deployed laser weapons to sever Ukraine's high-voltage power lines, paralyzing major cities. Ukraine retaliated with high-frequency jammers, disrupting Russian pipeline control systems and causing toxic gas leaks. In the skies, AI-driven drones from both sides collided, exploding in fireballs that lit up the night. Ukrainian hackers breached Russia's energy grid, triggering widespread blackouts, while Russia countered by crashing Kyiv's power network. The war expanded as allies joined, turning the region into a multi-layered flashpoint where energy and firepower fused in chaos. Russia launched a massive ground offensive, aiming to seize Ukraine's energy hubs to control gas supplies. Tank convoys rolled into Dnipro, sparking ferocious urban battles. Ukraine countered with rapid ambushes, using javelin missiles to incinerate Russian armor. A colossal explosion destroyed a Russian gas storage facility, unleashing fires and displacing thousands. Neighboring nations were drawn in, with Poland and Romania bolstering borders. The global economy reeled as energy prices soared, Black Sea transport routes stalled, and satellite imagery showed vast regions shrouded in smoke, marking an unprecedented phase of savage warfare. The attack's fallout triggered a global energy crisis. Destroyed pipelines halted gas supplies to Europe, spiking prices and causing severe shortages. Nations scrambled for alternative sources, sparking emergency alliances and trade disputes. Autonomous robots cleared toxic leak zones, while international relief teams faced attacks delivering aid to ravaged cities. Russia and Ukraine, battered by economic pressure, entered tense UN-mediated talks, but rogue energy militias emerged, looting remaining facilities. The crisis paused the war, but fractured energy markets and rising militia threats signaled an unstable future. Tensions between Ukraine and Russia have escalated as North Korea sent reinforcements, supplying troops and weapons to bolster Russia's prolonged war. Ukraine's intelligence operations closely monitored these movements, but in 2025, a lightning Ukrainian strike against North Korean forces pushed the conflict to new heights, shocking the world. Below is the account of this confrontation, from a swift annihilation to an unexpected outcome that left everyone reeling. On a chilly afternoon in 2025, along a border route near Luhansk, a North Korean reinforcement convoy, 500 soldiers and tanks, moved covertly to support Russia. Ukrainian radars detected the target, and a squadron of attack drones swooped in at breakneck speed. In just 91 seconds, the drones unleashed guided missiles, obliterating the entire convoy before it could react. Tanks erupted like fireworks, North Korean soldiers scattered in flames and smoke. Debris flew in all directions, and the border area trembled. The strike turned the frontier into a fiery hell, setting the stage for a ferocious retaliation. The annihilation triggered an immediate response from North Korea. From Pyongyang, they launched a barrage of ballistic missiles targeting Ukrainian cities, rocking Kyiv with devastating explosions. Russian forces coordinated, pounding Ukrainian positions near the border with relentless artillery. Ukraine retaliated with rapid airstrikes on Russian bases in Crimea where North Korean weapons were stored. An air battle erupted, with Ukrainian fighters clashing with Russian Su-35s in deadly pursuits. Black smoke choked the sky, continuous explosions shaking the ground, transforming the region into a chaotic battlefield where every minute was fraught with peril. The conflict surged into cyberspace with dizzying speed. North Korean hackers targeted Ukraine's command systems, disrupting communications and scrambling attack drones. Ukraine countered by crippling Russian and North Korean military networks, using viruses to seize missile systems. In the skies, drones from both sides collided in massive swarms, turning the air into a storm of fire. Hypersonic missiles streaked through, Ukraine's air defenses intercepting most, but debris raining down like a meteor shower, sparking widespread fires. The war expanded as NATO allies supplied Ukraine with weapons, turning the border into a multinational flashpoint where smoke and flames obscured everything. The conflict spiraled when North Korea deployed biological weapons, releasing toxic gas into Ukrainian positions, causing mass poisoning. Ukraine bonded with lightning strikes on North Korean bases near the Russian border, using guided missiles to destroy targets from afar. Flames and smoke billowed from the ruined bases, sparking panic in nearby cities. Russia coordinated with ballistic missile attacks on NATO bases in Poland, while Ukraine deployed special forces to demolish biological weapon stockpiles. The global economy reeled as transport routes collapsed, and satellite imagery showed vast regions shrouded in smoke and dust, marking a brutal phase of warfare. The strike's fallout triggered internal collapse in Russia and North Korea. Protests erupted in Moscow as citizens raged over losses, leading to clashes between security forces and civilians. In Pyongyang, disgruntled generals overthrew commanders, plunging the military into chaos. Neighboring nations scrambled to contain the fallout, with international task forces hunting remaining biological weapons. Autonomous robots were deployed to decontaminate affected areas, while relief convoys delivered medicine to ravaged cities. North Korea and Ukraine paused actions to exploit the chaos, but the battlefield remained littered with wreckage, with insurgent groups rising. The collapse temporarily halted the war, but new tensions and lingering internal threats signaled an unstable future.